Module 22 Equipment Apparatus and Materials Zinc, Copper, Iron block size 7 inches into 7 inches, tracing and carbon paper, etching, drawing needle, scraper or a metal file, brasso, sticker paper, black printing ink, stop out solution, inking knife, half ground, inking glass, paper for printing, cotton racks and kerosene for cleaning, printing machine, hand glove, face mask, roller or brayer, rosin powder, hot plate, woolen felt, plastic tray, nitric acid solution, nitric acid 60% purity. Carefully choose one zinc, copper, iron block. Ensure that the block chosen is cut at right angles of 7 inches into 7 inches in size. The design to be printed has to be of the same dimensions as the size of the block, that is 7 inches into 7 inches. Prepare several sketches to refine the design and select one for printing. Slope the edges of the entire block using a metal file. This technique is called beveling the block edges. Carefully polish the surface to be etched clean with brasso. Degrease the block. This is carried out by cleaning the entire block with soap. After the block is smoked, it will look like dark black. The painter and printmaker Jan van de Velde IV invented the equitint technique in Amsterdam around 1650. The cartographer Peter Pires Burdett later introduced his secret equitint technique to England in the 1770s. Equitint is an integral printmaking technique, a variant of etching. In integral printmaking, the artist makes marks on the plate, in case of equitint, a copper or zinc plate, that are capable of holding ink. Now draw the image on the block with the help of pointed etching needle or tools with light pressure. Sketch can be further improved at the time of the final drawing on the block. The inked plate is passed through a printing press together with a sheet of paper, resulting in a transfer of the ink to the paper. This can be repeated a number of times depending on the particular technique. Equitint uses the application of a mordant to etch into the metal plate. Equitint also uses powder rosin, hard resin to create a tonal effect. The rosin is acid resistant and typically adhered to the plate by controlled heating. The tonal variation is controlled by the level of mordant exposure over large areas, and thus the image is shaped by large sections at a time. Equitint is one of the processes of printmaking which produces elegant tonal values on areas on the plate. The rosin powder, which is heated to stick to the metal plate, creates a ground which can be easily etched upon. Once the procedure of getting the rosin stuck to the plate is done, then plate is etched on using a mordant or acid solution. The acid goes into the crevices and grooves created as per the design on the plate. These very cavities will hold the ink. A huge variety of tones and textures can be made and created. depending upon the density, width, and depth of the cavities created by the acid burns. The aquatinting method was perfected in the 18th century by printmakers, and a great number of pure aquatint plates were made. The technique was also popularly used along with line etching. Hence, line and depth of textures were ensured in the output of the prints. There is no limit to the tonal gradations an aquatint plate can create theoretically. It has been seen that rosin powder comes in variety of textures. The finer it is, the varying of the differences in the edge. The more granular the powder, the chances of its fuzzying incorrectly could manifest, and hence it is imperative that the even surface spread of the rosin powder be made. The plate is beaten in stages, hence there is a much deeper level to choose what the output comes out as. The gradations in tonal values can be created by merely a few seconds exposure to the acid to bit into the plate to a much longer exposure to the plate for a deeper and sharp lines or grooves. In today's times, many numerous plastic sprays are being used to make aquatints. These are basically lacquers and enamels which work the same way as rosin or resin. The ease of spraying them onto the plate ensures an even spread and less splotchy or uneven surface to etch. They can be used for small to moderately long bites and are available in pressurized cans which anyone can use. However, the process needs to be a bit more explored. Within the basic process of aquatint, several varying methods, grounds, lifts, etc. have been experimented with in the world. The new age printmakers, in all their innovative restlessness, have come up with variations of the traditional aquatint with rosin and added stages before the plate goes into acid so as to control the depth and the tonal values created later. The backside of the block to be etched is first covered with an acid resistant coat, either of black Japan or a plastic sticker. The block is now to be etched using a nitric acid 60% purity solution. This is the etchant solution. To prepare the etchant, mix carefully 1 part nitric acid with 10 parts water in a plastic tray. Now gently and carefully place the block in the acid solution in the plastic tray. It should be noted that for a normal edged line, the duration of soaking the block in acid is 25 minutes. There is a possibility of air bubbles forming during the etching process. Hence, it is imperative one removes them using a feather or other such object at the time the block is being etched. After the block is etched for 25 minutes, remove it carefully and clean the surface. Some examples of such experiments are spit bite aquatinta, where the acid solution is painting onto the ready ground plate. There is another one, which uses soap solution to drip or pool on the ready plate. This is used instead of varnish before the acid is allowed to burn through the plate. The soap is resist in this case. The output prints in the soap ground way of aquatint printmaking is that of a watercolor effect. Many artists and printmakers apply this technique to create the watery, lucid imagery in their prints. Francisco Goya. Born Francisco Jose de Goya y Lucentes on the 30th March of 1746 in Spain, Goya is better known world over as a romantic painter and a prolific printmaker. He is considered the most important Spanish artist of the late 18th and early 19th century, and throughout his long career was a commentator and chronicler of his era. Immensely successful in his lifetime, Goya is often referred to as both the last of the old masters and the first of the moderns. Born in a modest family in a village of Fuentetordos in Aragon, he studied painting from age 14 under Jose Luzanzi Martins and moved on later to Madrid to study with Anton Raphael Mengs. Put the rosin powder evenly on the metal plate block. He became a court painter to the Spanish crown in 1786, and the early portion of his career is marked by portraits commissioned by the Spanish aristocracy and royalty, as well as the Rococo style tapestry cartoons designed for the royal palace. Heat the metal plate block it properly to fuse the layer of rosin onto the metal plate block. Goya was a guarded man, and although letters and writings survive, we know comparatively little about his thoughts. Cover the white area of the design after with stop out solution. The block which is ready for etching gently and carefully placed back into the plastic tray with etching solution or etchant. This time mix 1 part acid or moderant and 12 parts water in the plastic tray. The nitric acid used is of 60% purity. He suffered a severe and undiagnosed illness in 1793 which left him completely deaf. After 1793, his work became progressively darker and pessimistic. His later easel and mural paintings, prints, and drawings appear to reflect a bleak outlook on personal, social, and political levels and contrast with his social climbing. He was appointed director of the Royal Academy in 1795, the year Manuel Godoy made an unfavorable treaty with France. In 1799, Goya became Primer Pintor de Camara, the then highest rank of a Spanish court painter. In the late 1970s, commissioned by Godoy, he completed his La Maja de Sunda, a remarkably daring nude for the time and clearly in depth to Diego Velázquez. In 1801, he painted Charles IV of Spanish and his family. In 1807, Napoleon led the French army into Spain. He remained in Madrid during the Peninsular War, which seems to have affected him deeply. Although he did not vocalize his thoughts in public, they can be inferred from his Disasters of War series of prints, although published 35 years after his death, and his 1814 paintings, the 2nd of May 1808 and 3rd of May 1808. Other works from his mid-period include Capricos and Los Disparate etching series, and a wide variety of paintings concerned with insanity, mental asylums, witches, fantastical creatures, and religious and political corruption, all of which suggests that he feared for both his country's fate and his own mental and physical health. Italy at the time was the cultural capital of Europe and held all the prototypes of classical antiquity, while Spain lacked a coherent artistic direction with all of its significant visual achievements in the past. Having failed to earn a scholarship, Goya relocated at his own expense to Rome in the old tradition of European artists stretching back to at least to Albrecht Dürer. He was an unknown at the time and so the records are scant and uncertain. Early biographers have him traveling to Rome with a gang of bullfighters where he worked as a secret acrobat or for a Russian diplomat or fell in love with a beautiful young nun whom he plotted to abduct from her convent. What is more certain is two surviving mythological paintings completed during the visit: a sacrifice to Vesta and a sacrifice to Pan, both dated 1771. Goya had a complicated relationship to the artist Diego Velázquez, while many of his contemporaries saw folly in Goya's attempts to copy and emulate him. He had access to a wide range of the long dead painter's works that had been contained in the royal collection. Nonetheless, etching was to become a medium that the young artist was to master, a medium that was to reveal both the true depths of his imagination and his political beliefs. His 1779 etching of the Garroted Man, El Aggrottado, was the largest work he had produced on date, and an obvious foreboding of his later disaster of war series. At some time between late 1792 and early 1793, an undiagnosed illness left Goya deaf. He became withdrawn and introspective while the direction and tone of his work changed. He began the series of acquainted etchings published in 1799 as the Capricos, completed in parallel with the more official commissions of portraits and religious paintings. In 1799, Goya published a 80 Capricos prints depicting what he described as the innumerable foibles and follies to be found in any civilized society, and from the common prejudices and deceitful practices which custom, ignorance, or self interest have made usual. The visions in these prints are partly explained by the caption, "The sleep of reason produces monsters." Yet these are not solely bleak in nature and demonstrate the artist's sharp satirical wit, particularly evident in etchings such as "Hunting for Teeth." It was one of the first of Goya's mid 1790s cabinet painting in which his earlier search for ideal beauty gave way to an examination of the relationship between naturalism and fantasy that would preoccupy him for the rest of his career. He was undergoing a nervous breakdown and entering prolonged physical illness, and admitted that the series was created to reflect his own self doubt, anxiety, and fear that he himself was going mad. Goya wrote that the works serve to occupy my imagination, tormented as it is by contemplation of my suffering. The series, he said, consisted of pictures which normally find no place in commissioned works. Although he did not make known his invention when creating the equitant plates of the disasters of war in the 1810s, art historians view them as a visual protest against the violence of the 1808 Dos de Mayo uprising, the subsequent Peninsular War, and the setbacks to the liberal cause following the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy in 1814. The scenes are singularly disturbing, sometimes macabre in their depiction of battlefield horror, and represent an outraged conscience in the face of death and destruction. They were not published until 1863, 35 years after his death. It is likely that only then was it considered politically safe to distribute a sequence of artworks criticizing both the French and distorted Bourbons. The first 47 plates in the series focus on incidents from the war and show the consequences of the conflicts on individual soldiers and civilians. The middle series, plates 48 to 64, record the effects of the famine that hit Madrid in 1811 to 12. Before the city was liberated from the French, the final 17 reflect the bitter disappointment of liberals when the restored Bourbon monarchy, encouraged by the Catholic hierarchy, rejected the Spanish Constitution of 1812 and opposed both state and religious reform. Since their first publication, Goya's scenes of atrocities, starvation, degradation, and humiliation have been described as a prodigious flowering of rage. Art historians assume Goya felt alienated from the social and political trends that followed the 1814 restoration of the Bourbon monarchy, and that he viewed these developments as reactionary means of social control. In his unpublished art, he seems to give railed against what he saw as a tactical retreat into medievalism. It is thought that he had hope for political and religious reform, but like many liberals became disillusioned when the restored Bourbon monarchy and Catholic hierarchy rejected Spanish Constitution of 1812. Goya could transform his personal demons into horrific and fantastic imagery that speak universally and allows his audience to find its own catharsis in these images. Following a stroke which left him paralyzed on his right side and suffering failing eyesight and poor access to painting materials, he died and was buried on 16 April 1828, aged 82. His body was later reinterred in Spain. Health and safety precautions. 1. Store concentrated nitric acid and potassium chloride separately from other chemicals. Whenever possible, use diluted acid. Acid etching should be done with local exhaust ventilation. Second, an important safety rule when diluting concentrated acids is to add the acid to the water, never the reverse. Third, wear appropriate gloves, goggles, and protective apron or lab coat when handling acids. If acid is spilled on your skin, wash with lots of water. In case of eye contact, rinse the eyes with water for at least 15 to 20 minutes and seek medical attention. Fourth, cover acid baths when not in use. Five, nitric acid etching releases the respiratory irritant nitrogen dioxide, which has poor odor warning properties. During the etching process, flammable hydrogen gas is also produced. Concentrated nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent and can react with many other chemicals, especially solvents or other organic compounds, to cause a fire. Six, concentrated acids are corrosive to the skin, eyes, respiratory system, and gastrointestinal system. Dilute acids can cause skin irritation on repeated or prolonged contact. Concentrated nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent and can react explosively with other concentrated acids, solvents, etc. Nitric acid gives off various nitrogen oxide gases, including nitrogen dioxide, which is a strong lung irritant and can cause emphysema. Seven. Always work in a well ventilated area. If in a closed space, keep the windows open at all times. 8. Ready the safety, handling instructions and caution labels on the nitric acid bottles and containers carefully. 9. Always wear acid resistant gloves, safety goggles, apron, and a respirator while handling acid. 10. In case of an accident or your need for assistance, make sure someone else in the room is aware of what are you doing. 11. Should the etched solution splash or come in contact with skin and is allowed to remain in contact with skin, the result will be a severe burn. It can be washed off immediately with plenty of water and follow these general guidelines. Always keep a container of cold water nearby in cases of an accident. If your skin comes in contact with the acid, wash the area immediately with plenty of cold water and soap for a minimum of 15 minutes. Get immediate medical attention. 12. If your body should come in contact with the acid, wash your entire body with the hose from the draining sink for a minimum of 15 minutes. Get immediate medical attention. Mordants, acids, and inks can be water based or solvent based, and hence care has to be taken that if a student has any respiratory allergies, asthma problems, appropriate aeration is provided for. 14. Hatching needles and tools should be stored safely, and one should always cut away from yourself. In advance, locate the nearest first aid box. 15. When possible, clamp down plates to avoid slippage. Minimize the chance of carpal tunnel syndrome by choosing tools with wide handles, avoiding tight grips, and including hand flexing exercises during regular rest periods. Set work table height so wrist flexing motions are minimal. 16. Sharp metallic tools for techniques like dry point, hatching, engraving, and mezzotint have to be used carefully and with a firm hand. Keep sharp tools under lock and key. It should be noted that the Intaglio process fills up ink in the block crevices and the upper relief surface area should be wiped clean and over the edges too. A final registration is made on the machine. The paper to be used to print is kept soaked and blotted half an hour before the print is taken and should be damped when being printed for Intaglio processes. First, take our trial proof of print to be able to check the design and tonal variations. Now take the final print on the ready damp paper. Write all the details like date and signature on the print.